I selected the darkest pure evil characters in all of fiction, and in this video, we try to find something good about each one of them. And I'm not talking about good traits, but an actual good thing they did, intentionally. This video ended up being very hard to make, because these characters were created by their authors to be the heartless, soulless devils of their stories. Pure evil by design, and trying to find a single good thing they chose to do was nearly impossible. But before we start, we need to define what it means to be pure evil. Definitions on the internet vary a lot. Whole wiki pages are made just to try to answer this question. But for our video, this is going to be simple. For us, a pure evil character has no tragic backstory, no trauma that pushed them down this path, and no external force making them do evil. They are evil because they chose to be, for purely selfish reasons. They also have to know they are evil, so no twisted logic or warped sense of justice where they think they are doing the right thing. No, they need to be fully aware their actions are evil, and they enjoy it. That's why even though Thanos literally tries to wipe out half of existence, he doesn't count as a pure evil, because he believes he's doing the right thing. Now that we defined what pure evil means, let's talk about what I mean by good. Because just being smart, disciplined, or cool-headed doesn't count. Those are good traits, and they are easy to find in everyone. We are looking for an actual good action, something they did intentionally, not by accident, not because they were forced, and not as a side effect of something else. They simply chose to do the right thing, even once. And one last rule, we are sticking to the canon versions of each character. No alternate timelines, filler episodes, or spin-offs. And if the canon isn't clear, we'll just use the original source materials, or whatever most people generally consider canon. Starting with our first villain, Frieza. Frieza is the purest evil in Dragon Ball. Cell was programmed. Boo is brainless. Zamasu thinks he's doing the right thing. But Frieza, he knows what he's doing is wrong. He just enjoys control and loves making others suffer just to show off the power he was born with. Even his father can't be blamed. Frieza is way more evil than him. He's also one of the most successful villains on this list, managing to rule over the universe for years. So, is there anything good he does? I know what everyone is thinking. His contribution to the winning of the Tournament of Power. We'll get to that, but I actually think Frieza's good action is way more subtle. It's the fact that he's low-key a great employer. Seriously, yes, he will probably blow you up if you mess up even slightly. And sure, you'll need to survive the occasional planetary genocide. But here's the thing, his army is huge, and the vast majority of it never even meets him. Most of them don't even know what he looks like. Not everyone is a fighter. So for most of his army, they get free healthcare, free transportation, free housing on his hundreds of planets where they can keep their families safe. They have job mobility, probably good salaries, and even rewards when they do a good job. And that's why so many of his soldiers stayed loyal to him, even years after his death. Because Frieza lets them share in his success. He only treated the Saiyan the way he did because they were rebellious, and he was afraid of the Super Saiyan prophecy. But to most of his empire, Frieza is probably seen as a great boss. Working for him is a dream job. I can imagine some alien kid living in an extremely poor planet, whose only dream is to be skilled enough to get recruited by the Frieza Force, to save his family from poverty, to give them a decent life on one of Frieza's planets. For me, that's Frieza's good action. But since I know a lot of people won't agree, how about this? Frieza probably saved more lives than he took. And I'm not even talking about the Tournament of Power. That version of Frieza was bitter. He tried to find a way to leverage the tournament to his advantage and was ready to throw it the moment he realized he couldn't. He didn't even believe Goku would keep his word about reviving him. He only helped him win because he wanted revenge on Jiren for hurting his ego, and because he thought he might get a shot at using the Super Dragon Balls. So yeah, I don't think that should count. What does count though, it's the fact that Frieza spent years literally doing God's work. It's been established so many times. Destruction is necessary for a healthy universe. And with Beerus's lazy ass sleeping for decades, the only reason the universe was safe was because Frieza was doing the work. By wiping out chaotic and unstable planets like the Saiyans, he may have actually improved the universe's survival chances. If he hadn't done that, the universe's ranking might have dropped so low that the Omni King would have erased it entirely. The Joker is by far the villain with the most variations and iterations on this entire list. It's almost impossible to pin down a single canon version of him. Hundreds of authors have written him, drawn him, and reinvented him. And yet, somehow, through all these versions, his outlook on the world has stayed surprisingly consistent. The Joker isn't out to do evil just for the sake of it. He's out to prove that good doesn't exist. So for this video, instead of picking one specific version of the Joker to analyze, we are going to look for the common thread across all his iterations, while excluding versions that give him a tragic backstory, like the Killing Joke or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, because once you give him a sympathetic origin, he stops being a pure evil. The Joker isn't just evil, he's an extreme nihilist. He doesn't believe in good or evil. He believes everything in life is meaningless, and he finds it hilarious that other people don't. So he dedicates himself to tearing down the meaning that others claim to, just to laugh at them and prove his point. And that makes it very difficult to find a good action in his story, because even when he does the right thing, it's never for the right reason. He doesn't believe in good, and so his intentions never really align with it. But somehow, he actually does have a few moments that looks heroic. In the 1997 Marvel and DC crossover, when Batman and Captain America team up to stop a temporary alliance between the Joker and the Red Skull, the Joker turns on Red Skull after realizing he's a He literally says that even though he's a lunatic, he won't team up with a fascist. And that's a glimpse of something, a weird twisted line he won't cross. He does something similar with Lex Luthor, turning on him and brutally murdering him, giving the heroes a massive advantage. But in both of these cases, the writers kind of backpedal, and they add selfish motives. The Joker turns on Lex because he was offended he wasn't included in his master plan, and he betrays Red Skull because he realizes the bomb they were building might kill him, implying that as insane as he is, he's not suicidal. Because no matter how differently the writers portray the Joker, there is one thing they all seem to agree on: he can't do good. So maybe his one good deed isn't something loud or heroic. Maybe it's something invisible. It's not about saving lives, it's about challenging Batman. In stories like The Dark Knight and Endgame, it's hinted that the Joker knows what he's doing. He pushes Batman to the edge, not just to break him, to reinforce his morals, to prove whether Batman's values really hold up under pressure. People see chaos, but the Joker, he sees the bigger picture. Even if he's insane, he's not stupid. He has a vision, a twisted one, sure, but a vision nonetheless. And in some interpretations, it feels like he's okay with being proved wrong, because deep down, what he really wants is answers. And that's why he keeps coming back. I personally learned about Judge Holden because I kept seeing him at the top of every most evil character in fiction list online. And after reading about him, yeah, he definitely deserves that spot. He is not very mainstream, so I would have loved to summarize the evil things he does. But honestly, even the mildest action in his story wouldn't make it past YouTube's guidelines. Judge Holden is the living embodiment of pure evil. He doesn't have a reason. He does the most horrible things just because he can. He stays perfectly calm in the most deranged situations. He's not only massive and physically imposing, he is also highly intelligent, charming, and educated. That combination makes him unbelievably dangerous, and he uses every bit of that power to hurt the people around him, for no other reason that he can. The novel he is from from Blood Meridian is filled with religious imagery, and many readers believe that Judge Holden isn't just a man, he is a symbolic representation of the devil himself. So, is there anything good this heartless monster does? Surprisingly, yes. There is one thing that Judge Holden consistently does throughout the story, something that seems to not come from cruelty or selfish intent. He teaches. Judge Holden is deeply educated, and he has a real love for knowledge. Throughout the story, as he and his gang travel across the brutal desert landscapes, he constantly stops to pick up fossils, examine ancient bones, and give lectures on geology, planetology, and the history of Earth. At one point, he even teaches the gang how to make gunpowder, which ends up saving their lives. And whenever one of his horrific plans succeed, he doesn't just celebrate. He plays music, sings, and teaches others how to dance. He seems to educate without hidden motives. He passes on what he knows simply because he values it. And in a story overflowing with violence and emptiness, that small act stands out. So that's the one good deed I managed to find. For a man considered by many to be the devil in a human form. Carnage is the result of a symbiote bonding with Cletus Cassidy, a completely deranged serial killer, and together they became one of Spider-Man's and Marvel's most chaotic and terrifying villains. Carnage has one motivation: pure chaos. He wants the most random, unpredictable, impossible to understand kind of destruction he can think of, and he takes pride in that. He's constantly trying to find new ways to do evil that no one would ever expect. Cletus Cassidy was pure evil long before he met the symbiote. He was convicted of 11 murders and bragged about many more, one of which is heavily implied to be the administrator of the orphanage he grew up in, someone he may have killed as a kid. But the first time we ever see glimpses of something that might count as good was all the way back in 1992, when he returns to the now burned down orphanage where he grew up to find his old teddy bear, Binky. That teddy bear ends up being the only thing that he ever truly cared about in his entire existence. But if we are looking for an actual good deed, you will have to jump all the way to 2016. In one story, Magneto, of all people, manages to convince Carnage to help save the world. He does that by telling him that if he loves chaos so much, then what could be more chaotic than doing the right thing? And Cassidy agrees, because for someone like him, saving the world might be the most random and unexpected thing he could ever do. A little while later, during a major battle, Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom cast the inversion spell, a magical reversal that flips the morality of every person caught in it. And when this hits Carnage, he's actually so evil that the reverse version of him ended up being a pretty good hero. He becomes so good, he even sacrifices himself to stop a doomsday device called the Gen Bomb, which would have killed everyone on Earth who wasn't a mutant. In his final moment, he tells Spider-Man to build a giant memorial in his honor and to play Freebird 24/7 because it was his favorite song. Of course, this is comics, so Carnage eventually comes back, and yes, he goes right back to being a total monster. But what's so fascinating about Carnage is that both times he did something good, it was because how he was so evil and chaotic in the first place. After 3 of the most powerful gods in existence nearly sacrificed all their divine power to stop an ancient black mass that threatened to devour the universe, a tiny fragment of it managed to escape and crash landed on Earth. That fragment started consuming everything in its path, desperate to regrow into its original form. That is, until one powerful emperor did the impossible. He miraculously shot a flaming arrow into the heart of the darkness, stopping it. But in doing so, he accidentally gave birth to something else, the Master of Darkness, Aku. Now technically, just by being born, Aku saved the universe, because if he hadn't been created, the original formless abyss of darkness would have returned. So yeah, you could technically call Aku's existence a good deed, but it wasn't intentional, it was just a side effect. Even though Aku is way weaker than the ancient evil he came from, he got something the original didn't. A fully formed ego, a big personality, and an actual self-awareness. And he used all of that to become a galactic tyrant. He enslaved planets, wiped out civilizations, and ruled with terror. He became the ultimate villain. Funny, sarcastic, and terrifying all at once. But this evil monster of darkness does something that even regular people like us often refuse to do. He goes to therapy. It's obviously meant to be funny, but hey, it still counts. He made the choice to seek help. That's something. But Aku's truest good action isn't something he does. It's something he chooses to not do. For someone who literally represents evil incarnate, he's surprisingly restrained. Throughout the series, we see that Aku allows regular people to live normal lives. There are peaceful villages, families, kids playing, cities functioning. It's not really a dystopia where everyone suffers. It's a dictatorship where Aku's influence mostly exists in the background. At one point, Aku even tries to impress kids with stories about himself, and when they boo him, he doesn't hurt them. There are several moments like that, where Aku clearly has a golden opportunity to do something horrifying, and he just doesn't. Now part of that is probably because the show was aimed at kids, so they couldn't go too dark. But still, it counts, because when you are the master of darkness, when you can do anything, sometimes the good thing you can do is choose not to. The Lion King is a massive movie, with a ton of sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and side stories. Some of them seem to be canon, but let's be real, most of them aren't that good. And if we do count them, it's actually pretty easy to find a good deed from Scar, especially now with the new Mufasa movie, where they almost turned him into a good guy. But honestly, I just don't buy it. It's hard to believe that someone like Tekka, who's actually pretty nice in that movie, would turn into the Scar we see in the original. I don't like how every villain these days need to be broken or misunderstood. Scar was perfect the way he was. So for this, I'm only counting the original 1994 movie, and that instantly makes it a lot harder to find something good about Scar. There is this popular theory online that says that Scar technically didn't do anything wrong, because in the wild, male lions fight for dominance, and the winner becomes king. So by that logic, killing Mufasa is just how nature works. But even if we consider that as true, that doesn't really help his case. Scar didn't fight Mufasa like a real lion. He used tricks, manipulation, and straight up betrayal to kill his own brother. And when he did become king, he let the hyenas ruin the Pride lands. So no, he's not just playing by the rules. In reality, the one time Scar actually does something good is when he breaks those rules. In the wild, when a new lion takes over a pride, he usually kills all the cubs of the old king. But Scar doesn't do that. He could have easily killed Simba right away, but he doesn't. Sure, he tells the hyenas to do it, but that's still him choosing to not do it himself, even though it was his right by lion logic. It's not much, but for a guy like Scar, letting Simba live is the one good thing he ever did. Even though Dio Brando has kind of a sad backstory with an abusive father, that's clearly not the reason he turned out so evil. A bunch of characters in the show straight up say that Dio was just born evil. It's also hinted that his mother being overly kind, giving away the little she earned to people in need while her own family stayed hungry, made Dio resent her, and that might have been the start of his selfish worldview, taking what he wants, using whoever he can, and never caring about anyone else. else. All of that eventually turned him into one of the best villains in all of anime. Dio believes that because he feeds on human, the most developed species on Earth, he is the apex predator, and he should rule the world. So he spends his life treating people like tools to get what he wants. Except one guy, Pucci. Throughout the whole series, the only person Dio truly respects is Pucci. Unlike his other followers, Dio actually sees Pucci as a real friend. And that's not just speculation. Hirohiko confirmed it himself. He said they would hang out, drink together, and laugh like actual friends. None of the other villains on this list have real love or respect for anyone. So the fact that Dio truly cares about one person, that's what I consider his one good deed. Patrick Bateman is different from everyone else on this list because of how real he feels. He proves that even the most ordinary, polished guy could be pure evil. On the surface, he's pretty normal, at least compared to the people around him. He's fit, handsome, wealthy, and well-mannered. But all of that is just a mask. Bateman is a fraud, shallow, materialistic. Every single thing he does is driven by a desperate need to fit in, to hide the fact that deep down, there is nothing inside. He explains it best himself in the opening.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. I simply am not there.
And if we are going to try to find something good about someone this hollow, we are going to have to answer a question that was never really meant to be answered. Does Patrick actually kills people, or is it all just happening in his head? Is it some kind of severe delusion? We are obviously not going to find a definitive answer to that. But if everything is just in his head, then he technically never did anything, so he wouldn't count as pure evil. So, for the sake of this video, we are going to assume that everything we see did happen, that Bateman did commit those murders. So, is there any hope of finding good in someone like that? Maybe, and it starts with the only thing he seems to genuinely care about, his love for music. Patrick has a real emotional connection to music. It's the one time we see him express something that doesn't feel performative. It actually moves him, which might suggest that despite everything, there is still something still alive inside him. He also makes a lot of politically correct comments throughout the movie, but it's clearly performative. The way he says them, with this flat, robotic tone, makes it obvious that he memorized them to fit in with his social circle. It's all part of the act. But there are moments when it feels like he breaks character. Moments where even though he's desperate to blend in, he disagrees with the people around him. Like when he tells his friends to cool it with the anti-Semitic jokes, and he seems genuinely uncomfortable. Or the moment he goes on a rant to Evelyn about the state of the world, and for a brief second, it sounds like a cry from somewhere real. These moments suggest that maybe beneath the bloodlust, beneath the consumerism and the layers of artificial identity, there is a part of him that still cares. And maybe that part of him is what leads to his one potential good deed, his confession. Why he confesses is left intentionally vague. Is it guilt? A moment of clarity in a mind falling apart? Maybe it's the only real thing he does. A sign that the horror is catching up with him, that he wants someone to stop him, to hold him accountable. But the true horror of American Psycho is that no one listens, no one believes him, because everyone around him is just as shallow, just as fake, just as empty as he is. So in the end, his one good action, his confession, becomes meaningless. Another empty gesture in a world that stopped paying attention a long time ago. Eobard Thawne might be one of the pettiest villains in all of comics, and that's exactly what makes him so terrifying. He starts out as a huge fan of the Flash, so obsessed he literally recreates the accident that gave Barry his powers, just so he could become like him. But he's not like Barry, he's a psycho, and when Barry chooses Wally West over him, he snaps. If he can't be the Flash's friend, then he'll become his worst nightmare. This villain doesn't want to rule the world. He just wants Barry Allen to suffer forever. And he does. He messes with the timeline, wipes out people from existence just to hurt him. He even creates entire fake realities just to watch Barry fall apart. For him, it's not about winning. It's about being the reason Barry loses. All of it just because his ego got bruised. And that's what makes Thawne so fascinating. A powerful, successful villain driven by pure pittiness. And that's why I love him. Now, after years of tormenting Barry, the twist comes. Barry finally realizes that the two of them are stuck in a loop. The Reverse Flash keeps coming back because he wants Barry's attention. The more Barry hates him, the more evil he gets, and the stronger he becomes. So Barry does the one thing Thawne never expected. Even though he's literally the reason for everything bad that happened in his life, he forgives him. And just like that, it's over. The hate loop breaks. Thawne disappears, and we find out that in his future, he actually becomes a tour guide at a Flash museum, sharing his love for Barry with kids, and finally at peace. So even though it took a lifetime of destruction to get there, Eobard Thawne was able to do one good thing. He let go. A lot of villains had to be cut from this video because I just couldn't find anything good about them, like Emperor Palpatine. I spent an unhealthy amount of time trying to find something redeemable about that guy, and I couldn't. But I still think it's possible, and maybe some hardcore Star Wars lore expert will help us find something in the comments. Palpatine wasn't the only one who had to be scrapped from the video. My original list had Bill Cipher, Freddy Krueger, Anton Chigurh, and the Lich, so I invite all of you to try to find something good about them in the comments. It's a really fun exercise. Also, if you guys like this video, I am planning to make another one, but this time doing the opposite, trying to find something evil in characters who are supposed to be pure good. So let me know which characters you want to see featured in that. And if you want to help me make it, the best thing you can do, no, it's not subscribing, not liking, not commenting, and not even donating. Although all of these are great and feel free to do them, the best thing you can do is something you've already done: watching the video to the end. So thank you so much for that. The second best thing you can do is watch another one of my videos. You will help my channel a lot, and I really appreciate it.